welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Today, I've got with me Jim Pross, who's a senior solution architect with us here at Evolving Solutions. Jim focuses on hyperconverged as well as our x86 platforms. So welcome, Jim. Appreciate you being here today.
Hey, no problem. Glad to be able to be available.
You bet. Jim's definitely very busy, so I'm glad I managed to get some time with him today. So I've got a couple questions for you, Jim, because I know you've been working a lot with clients on their overall strategies. So why would an organization choose to do hyperconverged versus sort of a traditional three-tier architecture?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, overall, a three-tier architecture is very solid and we're very familiar with it. We've been doing it for years. So in no way is that like a bad solution. However, what I really see and this is feedback from our customers, is really the simplicity of a hyperconverged solution. That's what I keep getting back over and over again is once they get a hyperconverged solution, they see the simplicity of maintaining it, the lifecycle management, keeping it up to date, doing future updates. So that's the real probably main thing that I see with a hyperconverged versus a three-tier.
Oh, and that makes sense. I mean, that's one of the big challenges we've seen over the years with traditional three-tier architectures. I mean, that's part of what, Cisco is trying to solve with UCS, right? So it's interesting that we're sort of continuing down that journey with hyperconverged.
Yep.
I think, go ahead.
Yeah, also, as with all organizations, we're required to do more with less, right? We're doing more and more and more things. Everybody's doing more and there's less time. There's only so much time in a day. So really having a solution that's simpler really, adds value to the customer and to their organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see that over and over again with our clients. It's, cost is sometimes a factor, but really it comes down to how easy is it to manage? How do you get the things done that you need to get done with your operations in the day to day? Yeah, so there are clearly some advantages to the hyperconverged approach, but with anything with change, there's always going to be some unique challenges too. What are you seeing people struggle with hyperconverged?
Well, yeah, so it's different. So you're kind of consolidating. You're creating one stack. So there's pros to that, but there's also the three-tier. We're so used to being separate, right?
Yeah.
So now the challenge is okay. Now when I do a hyperconverged solution, I am combining storage and compute on the same platform.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge is to kind of change your thinking and your sizing and how you operate and everything else, that you have to take that into consideration. So before with a three-tier, if I bring in a compute node down, it just affects the resources for the compute side. However, the hyperconverged, I'm also taking some storage down in a way.
Sure.
Whereas that's just kind of to a three-tier architecture, that's kind of foreign, like what? But the system's designed that way. Hyperconverged is designed where a node can go down, all those disks disappear, but it has resiliency and other things. So that was kind of the big, change. And just sizing, there is, since we're combining compute and storage on the same, node server, you have to size and have resources for the storage.
Yeah, that makes sense. So as soon as you put it into one platform, you're going to suddenly size a lot more carefully. Absolutely.
Right. And another item that was a challenge is, in a three-tier, most three-tiers, not all, will use like a fiber channel separate SAN, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had your network architecture LAN, and you had your fiber channel SAN, where in hyperconverged, it's all network, right? It's an IP-based SAN now versus so that now you're relying upon your network stack more than you would in a SAN, a three-tier that has a dedicated fiber channel SAN.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's different even than, an organization that maybe has gone to IP for their storage, but they've got a separate IP network for their storage traffic. With hyperconverged, you're getting both across the same network fabric.
Correct.
Right. Cool. So I've got one more question for you. If you had one thing that you would say to recommend to organizations who are looking to make hyperconverged part of their hybrid cloud strategy, what would that be?
Well, really, if you look at hyperconverge, it's kind of going down that path already, right? I mean,
Hmm.
hyperconverge is kind of modeling and going towards that hybrid cloud. So it's kind of, that's one of the another advantages that our clients see in hyperconverge. But as far as the hybrid cloud, if I was looking at a hyperconverged solution, I'd make sure that that hyperconverged solution also replicates and can be spun up in the cloud, and they can manage it. So it's not like you're going to a totally foreign, different architecture. You're staying within that hyper-converged architecture. You're just going to the cloud,
Yeah,
and you're able to manage
absolutely.
everything, tools, and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said before, one of the big values for hyperconverged is the simplicity. If you're going to take advantage of that simplicity, being able to take advantage of it as you move to, a portion of your environment to a public cloud where it makes sense. Yeah, organizing around that same set of tools completely makes sense. So, all right. Well, thank you for joining me today, Jim. I really appreciate it. And
Yeah.
thanks everyone else for joining us. And we look forward to talking with you again sometime soon.